tonight.
It was very violating.
These women have never taken nude photos, but still ended up in a secret chat room full of them. A well-known clothing store shuts its doors after 35 years in Saskatoon. And a group of Saskatchewan kids looks to dodge the competition on the world stage.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Tuesday, February 18th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams in for Sam McCagg. Thanks for joining us. Some women in Saskatchewan are speaking out about their disgust with an online chat room. Some people in that chat have reportedly been sharing intimate images of women without their consent. And in some cases, the women even had their photos altered. Dane Patterson has more.
It was very violating in a way.
Kenna had never sent an intimate photo. That's why she was surprised to find her picture in a chat room full of sexualized images.
I've never taken a picture like that ever in my life, besides a bikini photo. And even then, that was posted privately. But yeah, no, it was shocking at first.
Police have shut down a chat room containing intimate photos of women in Saskatchewan. The photos were shared without their knowledge or consent to an app and website called Discord, but the victims found out and eventually gained access. Finding thousands of photos and videos, I interviewed two women who raided the app to search for themselves, their friends, and the men behind it all.
So I was helping to do that. I was also just on there to gain as many usernames as I could from the chat before it was deleted. So yes, I was on there, but I was not partaking in sharing of pictures, just helping to ease the minds of other women and just gain as much as evidence as I could for police reports.
I discovered my own photoshopped images being shared on this site. They were sexualized. So for instance, the photo of me, I was just in a bathing suit. The photo of Kenna, I was just in a bathing suit.
This isn't the first time Alexis Curry has been victim to this. She says there have been other instances on other platforms. She has a message.
We need to teach our men, our boys, that this behavior is not acceptable. It's exploitive. It's violating to women.
It's outrageous that you couldn't share a picture of yourself on some gorgeous beach that you traveled to without expecting somebody to manipulate it in a way that's going to create profound harm for you.
The women allege there was material on Discord that included underage girls. The Saskatchewan Internet Child Exploitation Unit says so far none of the victims found are under the age of 18 and no charges have been laid. Dane Patterson, CBC News, Saskatoon.
A Saskatoon man is going to prison after pleading guilty to manslaughter. 26-year-old Shane Thomas admitted he fatally shot Damian Sanderson almost 2 years ago. The shooting happened outside this house in the Pleasant Hill neighborhood. Court heard Thomas had been drinking and smoking meth the night before the shooting. He then arrived at the house and found Sanderson sleeping with Thomas's ex-girlfriend. That triggered a confrontation between the two men. Thomas had originally been charged with second-degree murder. Justice Mona DeVell accepted a joint sentencing submission for a 9-year sentence. Operations at Evraz in Regina have been put on hold after what's being called a work-related incident sent a man to the hospital. The company confirmed the incident happened at Wheat City Metals Recycling Tuesday morning. That business is part of the Evraz Regina complex. Evraz said an employee received emergency care on site and then was transported to Regina General Hospital. No details were provided on their condition or their injuries. RCMP are searching for a man in relation to multiple stabbings that happened on Big River First Nation this past weekend. And as Liam O'Connor tells us, the man police are looking for is considered armed and dangerous.
This all began late Saturday afternoon. Between 3:50 and 4:20, Big River RCMP got reports of 3 separate stabbings, all at different homes in the community with one victim at each location. Big River First Nation is about 180 kilometers northwest of Saskatoon. While responding to the stabbings in Big River, police were informed of an attempted robbery in the small community of Victoire at Morin Lake. Victoire is about 10 kilometers south of the First Nation. There, RCMP say an unknown person threatened a driver with a machete but failed to steal the vehicle and then fled on foot. A man and woman were transported to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, according to police. RCMP say the man they're looking for is 29-year-old Brian LaChance, who's also wanted for an unrelated aggravated assault charge from November of last year. LaChance is about 5'6" and 150 pounds. He also has a teardrop tattoo under his left eye and was last seen wearing black pants and a black hoodie. LaChance may have been driving a black Kia with the license plate 649 NPP or a gray BMW SUV. Police say LaChance is considered armed and dangerous. Do not approach him and call 911. Liam O'Connor, CBC News, Saskatoon.
And late Tuesday, RCMP said one of the victims in this case is also a suspect in the other stabbings. The 25-year-old man was arrested after he was released from hospital. He faces several charges, including aggravated assault and break and enter. The provincial NDP is calling once again for action to hire more doctors, reduce bureaucracy, and add capacity to Saskatoon's emergency rooms. It comes after one of the city's hospitals is reducing its ER hours yet again. The Saskatchewan Health Authority announced late last week that Saskatoon City Hospital's ER will only be open from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. all this week because of a lack of available physicians. The NDP says this forces the city's other emergency departments to run at 350% capacity.
A lot of the doctors and nurses that are working in ERs are being recruited to work in the urgent care centers, which in the end doesn't alleviate the problem that we don't have enough people in the system to care for the people who require care. The NDP values healthcare professionals, and we would treat them with respect and dignity and work collaboratively with them, and I think that would go a long ways to improving retention.
In a statement, the SHA says it and the provincial government are taking action to address patient needs. That includes a plan to recruit, train, incentivize, and retain healthcare providers. It says hundreds of additional professionals have already been recruited, with hundreds more expected over the next 2 years. Investigators have started combing through the site of Monday's dramatic plane crash at Toronto's Pearson International Airport, and officials are warning people of possible flight delays for several more days.
The aircraft will remain on the runway while the investigators are performing their reviews. We expect that could be about 48 hours. And so until that time, 2 of our runways will remain closed, and that is affecting the volume of traffic that we're having.
A Delta passenger jet from Minneapolis made a hard landing, burst into flames, then flipped over. Incredibly, all 80 on board survived. Delta Airlines says 21 people were injured, but only 1 remains in hospital. The Transportation Safety Board is leading the investigation into the cause of the accident, with assistance from American aviation authorities, Delta Airlines, and Mitsubishi, the manufacturer of the plane. Well, we are still struggling with frigid weather across the prairies this week, and for some, that cabin fever has likely kicked into high gear. But there is a reason this is all happening. Weather specialist Riley Lachuk tells us what's going on.
There are 2 words that can strike fear in even the most hardy of Canadians during the wintertime. It thrives in winter weather and delivers some of the coldest air in the world. It's the dreaded
polar vortex.
Polar vortex. Polar vortex.
Polar vortex.
But wait, does the polar vortex really deserve the harsh rep it gets? To start with, a polar vortex doesn't just rear its ugly head unexpectedly.
It's a persistent area of low pressure that hangs out around both of the Earth's poles, rotating all year long. It's weaker in the summer when it holds the frigid air in like a dam. Not so bad, right? Thanks for that polar vortex. It gets stronger in the winter. If the temperature warms up enough in the Arctic during this time, the polar jet stream can wander off course, causing the polar vortex to also slip off course, moving southward right towards us.
It's kind of like opening the freezer door when that happens. All of that cold air chills southern Canada and the United States. It can last anywhere from a few days to a few weeks. And when the polar vortex visits, it can bring a few unpopular plus ones.
The first, freezing temperatures. We're talking 20 to 30 degrees colder than normal. And the second, strong winds as more air is drawn in from the north.
But for those reasons, a polar vortex can be a lot to handle. But if you dress for the weather and leave yourself extra time on those icy commutes, you've got nothing to be afraid of.
Well, despite the deep freeze this weekend, many families enjoyed some indoor activities at the RCMP Heritage Center in Regina. Some kids took part in ball hockey, while some did their best limbo and pretended they were in a warmer climate while visiting with Disney's Moana. Others jumped in a replica RCMP vehicle and tested their driving skills. You may be able to do some outdoor activities in the coming days. Riley Lachuk will be back with the details in his full forecast when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Flynn family has styled Saskatoon since the 1950s. But now the last Flynn store, Ultimo Euromoda, is closing. Owner Barry Flynn died last year, and as Jeremy Warren reports, Barry's passion for fashion can't be replaced.
Great, thanks.
My pleasure. You have a great day.
Yeah.
It's the final sale for Saskatoon's first family of fashion. Ultimo Euromoda is closing after 35 years in downtown Saskatoon. Owner Barry Flynn died in December at 67, just 2 months after learning he had stage 4 lung cancer. His family decided to close the shop.
It's hard. Barry's death happened so quickly that it's hard for me to comprehend that he's not coming back. And his dream store will be gone.
Barry grew up working in his parents' clothing store. His father is longtime menswear retailer Elwood Flynn. The 91-year-old also died last year, 3 years after closing his store. While Elwood sold classic suiting, Barry's store was more rock and roll. Their styles differed, but not their dedication to customers.
People would just come in not to buy anything, just for the conversation. The old school way of shopping, that face-to-face contact meant everything to Barry and Elwood.
Like his father Barry, Cale Flynn grew up in a clothing store. He's been running the final sale and chatting with people dropping by to reminisce.
Old clients, old friends, old employees. He definitely touched a lot of different people, whether it be helping them out with their wedding or giving them a job, or just as simple as waving to them on the streets in the morning when they're walking by to work. He was just a great guy all around.
Ultimo plans to close its doors by March 1st. It's the end of an era for the Flynns after almost 70 years in business. Jeremy Warren, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Well, yes, of course, it is bitterly cold for many of us across the province, but we are getting some nice sunsets out of the deal with these nice clear skies as we look out at Regina with that steam in the air just kind of hanging there. Riley Lachuk joins us now for a look at our forecast and a deeper look at just why things have been so cold.
Well, I thought I'd start with a look at our upper level winds. I know this maybe looks a little bit confusing, but we'll get into it here. So what we've got is this area of high pressure that's now sunk south of the border. This, in combination with this polar vortex, the polar jet stream, which has started to kind of slowly recede back a little bit further north. This is what's led to some of these very, very cold conditions that we've seen over the last few days. And as I mentioned, this is starting to recede back further north. And as this sort of continues to slip a little bit further south, the block that was keeping us in the very cold weather is starting to break down a bit. And that's going to signal a bit of a change as we get into the next really few days, really across the Prairie provinces. and a pretty drastic change in our temperatures. So one more night of extreme cold warnings, I think. Wind chills colder than -45 for northern parts of the province. In the south, more like wind chills colder than -40. Again, this is frostbite on exposed skin in minutes. So we're looking at another very cold night ahead, really province-wide tonight. Stepping back, looking at Monday morning, here are some of our low temperatures. Key Lake, the coldest place in Canada, early Monday morning, getting to almost -49 degrees. That is a record that was broken from 2022. Saskatoon, notably, breaking a record from 1903, over a century old, and Regina not far behind at -40. So that's where we were today. Come on, I know, -28, the best we did in Regina, -27 in Saskatoon. Usually we should be at -5 in Saskatoon for this time of the year, so well below normal for this time of the year. But as I mentioned, there is a pretty big change on the way. So that block I was mentioning pushes off. Behind that, the jet stream is allowed to kind of move its way a little bit further north, and that, as we get into the later part of the week, and particularly into the weekend, will allow some of that warm Pacific air into the province and really warm us up, even in some cases above zero by the time we get to the weekend. I'll have more on that coming up in your long-range forecast. But with that comes a little bit more cloud cover, and yes, maybe the possibility of some precipitation. So Wednesday, mostly sunny skies. We do start to see a bit of cloud cover, maybe some flurries as we get into Thursday for northern sections, but it's the temperatures that are really going to feature as we get later into the week. So for Wednesday, -23 in Regina, by Thursday up to -13, and yes, a full 23 degrees warmer compared to Wednesday on Friday at the freezing mark. It does get better from there. A bit of cloud cover into the weekend. +3 for Sunday, +1 into Monday. Then we start to dip back below seasonal and closer to, I guess, the seasonal mark by the time we get into next week. For Saskatoon, much the same. Tomorrow, -21, mainly sunny skies, up to -11 for Thursday, then +1 with a mainly cloudy sky for Friday. Clouds even feature as we get into the weekend, and the possibility of some flurries or some rain showers into Sunday before we start to see things dipping off as we get into the middle of next week.
Oh, we are looking forward to that warm-up. Thanks so much, Riley. Well, this week, kids from Saskatchewan are off to Calgary to play in the first ever World Dodgeball Tournaments, and we caught up with them just before they headed on their way.
All right, ready.
We run for three balls on our side. Somebody runs for one, one person runs for two.
Toss one person to the side, and then they could either throw it or throw it to the corner. And if they get the person out, then that's a good thing. But if they get us out, then that's not good.
The goal is to get the other all 6 players on the other team out.
It's kind of just like get the balls and kind of see how the first few throws go, whether, and you kind of just lay out the game and see how the players on the other team are, and you're kind of like knowing how they move and how they throw.
It's amazing. Not many people know about dodgeball and that it's an actual sport. So the fact that we're even doing competitive youth dodgeball is absolutely amazing.
I've never done this before, but I feel like it's going to be a lot of fun there. I'm going to go to Calgary, meet a lot of different teams.
We're playing teams from all around the world, from like Hong Kong, Mexico, just a whole lot of places.
Hong Kong is very strong. They have a really good youth program, dodgeball program completely out there. They do a lot of practice, which we've watched a lot of film on them. Also Malaysia, they're really into dodgeball. That's one of their biggest sports there. So Malaysia is also one of those teams that we're looking at.
Did you ever think 2 years ago you'd be playing in Worlds?
No, I never would have expected dodgeball to become this, to be standing here getting interviewed by you and wearing this jersey. I just never expected that.
It's insane, absolutely insane. These kids have no idea what's coming to them. It's going to be such a great experience for them. Again, I wish I was on the stage when I was that age. It would have been so great, but no, it'll be absolutely amazing for these kids to be the first ever, and when they're adults in like 20 years, they're going to be looking back and say, hey, that was me. I was the first one there.
My goal is to just have fun, and I care that we do well, but I just care about the experience more.
Well, Well, an evening of music, dance, and more was held at the Queensbury Convention Centre in Regina this weekend. Love Jazz 2025 is an event put on by Regina's Afro Tribes organization. It's a celebration of music, culture, and connection to commemorate Black History Month. This year's event featured music from Saskatchewan's first Afrobeats band, Elevate, as well as dance performances from K-Queens. Stay with us. We'll have more news after the break. The annual inflation rate rose slightly in the month of January from 1.8 to 1.9%, according to new data from Statistics Canada. StatsCan says higher energy costs were to blame for notching up the inflation rate. They rose 5.3%, but that sizable jump was offset by the federal government's tax holiday. The GST break led to lower prices on food, alcohol, and clothing. Economists warn energy prices may increase inflation in the months ahead now that the tax holiday is over.
All right, one more night to go of some of these bitterly cold temperatures. Then we start to see things warming up ever so slightly as we get into the middle part of the week. So Regina, overnight minus 38, Saskatoon minus 36, mostly clear skies as we get through the overnight hours tonight, really province-wide. Maybe a few clouds here and there, but by and large, we're looking at mainly clear skies and temperatures much, much colder than normal. Uranium City at minus 29. Overnight into the day on Wednesday, looking at another mainly sunny day, and temperatures again struggling to get even above minus 25 in some cases. Pelican Narrows minus 22 by lunchtime, Cree Lake minus 24, and it doesn't get much better than there. Maybe we get to minus 16, minus 17 on the eastern side of the province. In the south, another very cold start. Make sure you plug in the car overnight tonight. Looking at temperatures by lunchtime in Regina, starting to climb above minus 30, but yeah, we're stuck in the mid minus 20s through the day on Wednesday, Ethan, and then things, as you saw in the long range, look up from there.
Yeah, it can't come soon enough. Thanks, Riley. Well, with the frigid weather continuing, the Royal Saskatchewan Museum in Regina has some fun indoor activities the kids can take part in, including some programming in the museum's Learning Lab.
Is an area where families get to come and do some activities related to, in this week, it's arachnids, so spiders and stuff like that. So they get to look at actual specimens, make a spider web, do some matching of spiders to the types of web, and just learn a bit more about what types of spiders are actually here in our province.
It's really fun because where I live, it's very cold after we get outside. So then when I get to the museum, I just have the best time of my life.
Creepy crawlies aren't the only thing on the go. You can also do a scavenger hunt and ask a dinosaur all of your burning questions. Sounds like fun. Well, that is it for us for now. For more news anytime, you can head to our website, cbc.ca/sask, or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel, and also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching.